What's up, guys? It is currently Saturday, July the 7th, which means that the brand new Zoids Wild Anime has finally aired in Japan, and I am here to give my thoughts on it. So, as you guys remember from earlier this year, when Zoids Wild was first announced, I got super hyped and tried to get all you guys hyped as well, because it was just so exciting, because this is the first time we've had a Zoids anime in 12 years. So the fact that we're finally getting it now, even though it may not be artistically the direction we would have wanted out of a new Zoid series, we still have to appreciate the fact that we're actually getting something new for the franchise, which can spark new interest in it and further lead to new great series in the future. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and begin. I will say that this episode did not have subtitles as of yet. Subtitles will probably come later. So I'm going to do my best to give it a sort of rundown of the storyline just from what I could translate on my own and through the visuals and how it compares to the manga, especially since I did that manga first impressions video as well. So first off, the OP for this series is actually fantastic. I really did enjoy it. I feel like it's an upbeat song that really does set the tone that the series is trying to accomplish. After a brief shot of a Zoid walking through the forest at night, we get a glimpse of the village that our main character lives in, and already we can tell that it's set in a very primitive era where this village probably has very limited technology. Just like in the manga, we see our main character getting ready to leave the village to go on an adventure, but notably here the village seems to advertise the notion that it's strongly against people leaving the village to go out into the wilderness due to the hazard of encountering wild Zoids that would probably be able to easily kill a human. But our main character completely disregards this and decides to go out anyway, bypassing the intentional hazards that prevent people from leaving. We see him pour what I can only assume is oil onto the ground to try to bait and capture this wild Zoid, just as we saw in the manga. And sure enough, the beetle-type Zoid in question shows up almost immediately. He tries to capture it using a lasso, which is ridiculous, honestly. He has this net with him, as we saw in the manga, which I don't know what he claims he thinks he's going to do with that, and sure enough, the beetle breaks away from it almost immediately. He then lures the beetle Zoid into a sinkhole and a rock trap that he created and crushes it with the rock, so maybe this was his plan all along, and if it was, why did he bring the stupid net in the first place? The beetle manages to emerge from the rock completely unharmed, and now has our main character backed into a corner. Once he has nowhere to go, we're introduced to one of our other main characters who's riding a tiger-type Zoid who rushes in to save him. The two then proceed to have a pretty well-animated fight, and the beetle is quickly and effortlessly defeated. It's at this point that we're introduced to the rest of the main cast, who are all the other Zoid pilot/writers in this case. And if I can be honest, their designs are starting to grow on me a lot more, although I'm a little bit more fond of the Zoid designs now than I am of the pilot designs. There's definitely something to be desired with their aesthetic and design. The main character then proceeds to return home, and is immediately berated by his authority figure, who I assume is his grandfather, for being reckless and an amateur. He though quickly leaves after that because he's clearly our cliché shonen protagonist who's a young arrogant teenager and has no respect or regard for authority figures. We then see the other pilots sitting around having a conversation, and we get a visual glimpse of what our antagonists are going to be, which I assume are those bandit marauder Mad Max style characters we saw in the manga. It's pretty obvious that our main character is completely enamored with the Team Zoids, especially the Brachiosaur one. We get a flashback to when our main character was just a small child, and there's a giant fireball headed for their village, only to be stopped by who appears to be the kid's father with the Brachiozoid. So, from a lore standpoint, this is interesting because we don't know at this point if giant fireballs like this, or meteorites, whatever they are a common occurrence, or where they come from, or what's happening in-universe when this occurs, but it was easily stopped. It was a slow-moving object, which is really unlike a meteorite, so I'm assuming maybe it came from another Zoid. Like, we don't know what's going on here, but we do know it was easily stopped by the Brachiozoid. The village then hears a disturbance outside, and of course our main character, still being ready for action, decides to go check it out. It's at this point that we're first introduced to the wild liger, and our main character is initially terrified at first, but after a few moments decides he wants to square up with the Zoid in hopes of demonstrating he's not afraid, or to try to win over his trust or respect. In doing so, he notices the scratches and battle damage that the Zoid appears to have taken. One thing I think is very interesting about the animation in this series is that all the Zoids actually have eyes, and they actually move around and zoom in and give a lot more expression and a lot more liveliness to the Zoids in their expressions. Their interaction is cut short, however, as we're finally introduced to the Mad Max-style Marauders, who are riding the Giloraptor-type Zoids and wielding guns, apparently. It's pretty obvious that the damage that the Wild Liger took was from these guys, as they've clearly been hunting it. The bandits used their grappling hook-style weapons to wrap cables around the Zoid's legs and electrify it into submission. Our main character then proceeds to do an impressively good job at fighting off the bandits by throwing rocks at them and headbutting them. He tries once again with tenacity to win over the trust of the Wild Liger, only to fall under attack again by the bandits. He then proceeds to use the very same bolt cutters that he used to escape the village to cut the cables that are attached to the Zoid's legs. Why he didn't just cut the cable attached to himself, I have no idea. Our main character is kind of an idiot, it seems. But nonetheless, he manages to get the Wild Liger free from its capture. The bandits then ready freaking rocket launchers on him in an attempt to just blow the Wild Liger away. The Wild Liger, at this point having no choice, decides to finally trust our main character and allow them to synergize. This doesn't stop all of the rockets from just colliding anyway, but for some reason the Liger emerges unscathed, probably due to some magical bond nonsense from their linking together. The bandits on foot proceed to run away, while the bandits mounted on the Giloraptors proceed to attack our main character. It's at this point that a glowing object emerges from the top of the Wild Liger. It resembles somewhat between a knife and a key, and the main character definitely uses it as a key to engage the Wild Liger's ultimate attack, which deploys the massive blade on its back. The main character then proceeds to use the blade to cut through two of the Giloraptors, and our episode ends on a cliffhanger. So what did I think of it? Well, to be honest with you, I actually quite enjoyed it. The animation quality is actually pretty fantastic, and the way that the Zoids move is very dynamic, and it really does look very good. I think that there's a lot of potential here. I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than I did the manga, which, as I said in the manga video, lacked a lot of visual flair, and pretty much the Zoids themselves were the only aspect of it that looked good. One thing that's very noteworthy in the anime is the main character actually puts his tongue back in his mouth, which means we don't have to deal with that nonsense. Other than that, like I said, the Zoid designs are growing on me. I like the setting and like the Mad Max style villains. The only thing is I can definitely tell it's geared towards kids. There's a lot of things that are just sort of cliche shonens of like the main character gets his partner in the first episode and he's just naturally good at everything. And he did try with tenacity to win over the Wild Liger. So it's not like he didn't try at all, but as soon as he gets in the pilot seat, he's just naturally good at controlling it, which is a little bit unfair to me. But overall, like I said, I think it's solid. We'll see how everything plays out, and I think it's going to be pretty good. There's a couple things that I noticed, like the Tiger Zoid as well that I mentioned has what appears to be blades on its back, so I think that may be my favorite design so far, is that Tiger style Zoid. I don't think we've had a model kit for that announced yet. That may be in Wave 2. So we'll see what happens in the next episode. I'm not going to do a review of these one by one, and I'm sure that this video will not hold up under scrutiny over time, because as we get the subtitles and maybe in English localization, then my flimsy explanation of the events that take place will be cut down quite a bit by the fact that we'll actually have an official translation or subtitles to where you guys can actually understand what's happening instead of just me giving you a play-by-play of the events that take place. But I hope you guys will check this out. Definitely check it out through legal means if you can. I do not advocate any kind of piracy or watching on any kind of illegal websites. I watched it through a Japanese restream, and that is why there is no subtitles. And I'm not providing any footage, as you saw, because I don't want to become copyright. I don't want to have a copyright claim on the video. I just wanted to show clips or show screenshots and talk about what I felt. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you guys like Zoids and you like Zoids content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I do Zoids Model Kit reviews pretty frequently. I've been uploading one a week for the kits that I have that I still need to do reviews of. Definitely go check out my Let's Plays of Zoids vs. 1, Zoids Battle Legends, and Zoids vs. 3, as well as my couple spin-off videos for Zoids Infinity Fusors. And I'll probably do a special video pretty soon where me and some other people will try out Zoids Full Metal Crash, which is a game that I got recently and I've been willing to try it out. But I suck at fighting games, so I'm probably going to get my friend Cheyenne, who's a huge Zoids fan and a huge fighting game fan, to kick my ass at that game just to get some gameplay footage of it. But we'll see what happens. I'll see you guys next time.